Facebook. This is Dr. Renee Davis. You have just witnessed the first of our series on Black Mental Health Matters, Mental Health 101, presented by our phenomenal first presenter, Ms. April Holoka. I have Ms. Holoka here with me today, live, coming to you right on the spot, Facebook Live. I will have a couple of questions for Ms. April Holoka. Matter of fact, I have a lot of questions for Ms. April. These are questions that I have compiled, Ms. April has compiled, other individuals have compiled as well. But we also want you to ask us questions. So type in right now what questions you have for us. They will present it to us and we will answer those questions for you. Matter of fact, Ms. April will answer those questions for you. I will try to jump in, but this is her moment. She has done a wonderful, wonderful job. So without any further ado, Ms. April, girl, you ready?
I'm ready.
Miss April and I, we go way back. We started together in 2009, working here in Gastonia, doing mental health, community mental health with an organization. We were kindred spirits. We call each other twins. We don't have the same parents, but we just vibe like that. So I hope you get to see this chemistry that we have going on and still continue to learn more about mental health as it pertains to our African American community. You ready to dive in?
I'm ready.
Okay. First question that I want to ask you, Miss April. We have a situation where we live in a small community. Everybody knows everybody, okay?
Yeah.
Now, let's say Miss Joyce wants to go to a therapist. She's a church member with this therapist. Is there anything that Miss Joyce needs to be concerned about by going to therapy in a small community?
I would say no. And the reason that I say that is because, you know, all therapists have to abide by HIPAA requirements just like medical doctors do. So, you know, you can't just divulge any information to people who don't have a need to know or you don't have a release for. So for example, if Ms. Joyce decides, hey, I want to go see this person and they're the only therapist in town, that therapist's job is to protect her information. And so you shouldn't have to fear, oh, somebody's going to find out what I'm talking about in therapy, because that really goes against all of our training and the laws that have been set up to protect you as an individual.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful question. Next question, Ms. April. I just lost my job.
Okay.
I'm depressed, I'm overwhelmed. I want to seek treatment, but I don't have any money and I don't have insurance. What resources are out there for me?
Well, first of all, here in Gastonia, you definitely can contact Partners Behavioral Healthcare because they actually are the managed care organization and they can direct you to providers who accept sliding scale, or they can try to connect you with someone else to help you out. And so definitely we want to make sure that you're being seen. So reach out to them if you don't have insurance, and they should be able to help you or direct you to someone who can work with you. And that's generally the first place that you start. And so if you don't have insurance, there are resources, and if you contact your local management entity or managed care organization, they know the providers in your area where they can actually help you get connected. So if you're somewhere else other than, you know, North Carolina, I don't really know your system, but in North Carolina, we do have a managed care system here, and most of them are connected with your county and the local area, and so they can help you find someone who can work with you.
And is this the same for someone who has a job, who has insurance, but they can't afford their copay?
So, not really, because if you have insurance, most places aren't going to just take you on pro bono. What will happen is, I always recommend people check with your employer to find out whether or not maybe you are eligible for what are called EAP benefits. And and that's employee assistance program. And a lot of employers nowadays have that set up so that you can actually, you can contact them and they give you a certain number of sessions, and so that's a really good way to start. Sometimes you don't even need all the sessions that are authorized, and so, and if there's a different situation, a lot of EAPs will let you come in for something different if you've used it for something else in the past. So that's a really good resource to check with your HR department to find out if they have some of those sessions that are available to you so that you can get the help without necessarily having to pay any co-pays.
I know you talked a little bit about the stigma of talking about mental health or mental illness. Is mental illness contagious? So can we get it from just sitting next to John, our cousin?
No, mental health is not contagious. Mental illness is not contagious. It's not like a virus, something that you catch. One of the things that we do know is that there are certain disorders that you may have a predisposition for in your family, and that just means that sometimes your family chemistry is the same. So a lot of times I know if you're going to your primary care doctor, they may say, does your mother have XYZ as well? So it's not necessarily that you can catch it from someone or anything like that, but you know, there are predispositions specifically for things like mood disorders, because a lot of those are chemically based. And I talked a little bit about that in the presentation, about how the chemicals in your brain can affect that. So it's not something like you sit next to someone who may have a diagnosis and you're gonna catch that from them. That's not the way that mental illness works.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful question and response. This is a good question. Can people with mental illness, can they recover?
Yeah, I think recovery is an ongoing thing. And anyone who has ever had a substance use disorder, anybody who's ever, anything you've ever gone through in your life, you recover from. So if you have a medical disorder, you sometimes can recover from that as well. And so I think that my opinion is that you definitely can recover, and it really takes, what does recovery look like for you? Because for everyone it's different. And so in some instances, people want to be right back at what they were doing at the beginning of their, you know, treatment and things like that. And others, it may be something a little bit different, where you know, you just, I don't want to be crying all the time, and that's what recovery looks like for you. So that's the gist of it. I think that recovery is a process, and I think that what looks like recovery today to you may look different in 2 weeks or in a year. So for everybody, it's a little bit different. But yes, absolutely. I work with a lot of people who are certified peer support specialists, and they are in recovery from mental illness, from substance use disorders, and they actively live functioning lives in community. A lot of them are not on, you know, they don't receive any benefits. They're actually out there working and teaching other people to recover in, you know, with their mental illness or substance use disorders.
Okay. Well, my Facebook friends, I received a little message from our administrators here, and I have been asked to let everyone know in Facebook land you can ask us questions. So this is real time. As you're seeing us, we are speaking to you live. So please, on your computer, on your laptop, on your tablet, if you have a question for us, please type it in. You may see me, you know, stepping up out of frame. I'm just getting your question because we definitely want to hear from you. We definitely want to open up this forum so you can have your questions answered by one of our awesome professionals. So please give us those questions. We're waiting for it. We're waiting for it. But in the meantime, I got some more questions. Okay, this is a good question. And this is a question that I recently talked about with other therapists in a chat room. So even therapists are talking about this. So here we go. Should I be in therapy or should I just take medications?
I hear that question a lot with the people that I work with. And I think it depends on what your needs are, because the reality of mental health is that it's multifaceted. There are many, many different things that play into how your symptoms present themselves. So for example, if your diagnosis is primarily a chemical disorder, medication may be able to get you to a good level of functioning where you don't necessarily have to sit down and talk to someone, because it really is a chemical issue.
Mm-hmm.
But then in other instances, you might need to develop some skills. And that's where the clinicians come in. They are able to walk you through how to get to a place where you can learn, okay, when I'm really angry, instead of going to take a drink, maybe I need to just go and do some deep breathing, or maybe I need to go take a walk, or maybe I need to color. Oh my goodness, coloring is the best thing on the planet. I think I love coloring more than mostly anything. I even have a coloring app on my phone.
Mine's elephants.
And of course it is. But I think that sometimes you just need that direction to kind of teach you what you can do and give you the tools to put in your toolbox, so that when these things come up again, you can go into that toolbox.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to need you to give me tools for the rest of my life all the time, but sometimes I might need a new tool and I don't know how to use that. So that's when I re-engage. So I don't think that it's always lifelong. Like I said that in the presentation, it doesn't have to be for the rest of your life, but you definitely want to make sure when you need the skills, you go to the people who can teach you what those skills are.
And if I can also add to that, one of the things that I share with people as it relates to therapy, once you learn a skill, a coping strategy, no one can take that away from you unless there's like a traumatic brain injury, or an organic imbalance. They can't take that away. No one can take that away. But sometimes with medications, people lose their insurance and they no longer can afford the medicines that they take. And so I often kind of encourage people, if they can, maybe a combination of both, depending on what the condition is. But know that if you learn a skill, that's with you forever. When you find yourself in a situation, you can fall back on what you have learned and to apply that. That's just a part of your toolkit that you can use as needed. Do we have a question? Woo-hoo! Okay. Here's a question. This says, what is the best way to approach a close family member, be it a brother, a sister, another relative, to receive mental health support?
Well, I think that it depends on your relationship with that family member, because a lot of times the way you come across is going to determine how they receive it. So I think if you're going in like I'm the mama and I'm gonna tell you because you don't know, or I'm the professional in the family, so you should listen to me because I'm the expert on all things, most people aren't going to receive that well. And so I really think it just depends on your relationship with that person. But one of the things that I would say, is pretty much like, is everything okay? Because you seem a little bit stressed out, or you seem to really be hitting the bottle a little bit more at night than you used to, I'm just saying. And you didn't do that before. And so, or, I've heard you crying at night, and I'm really concerned that you're hurting, and I want to be there for you. So a lot of times it's really just about giving a lending ear, because people think that they're by themselves. People think that nobody cares about their problems. So by just saying to them, hey, you need to talk, you look a little out of sorts today. And so, let's talk it out.
Right.
And it could just be something as simple as that says, I haven't been sleeping well. I don't know what's going on. My brain keeps racing and I just can't put it down at night. And so I don't know what to do with that, because now that I'm not sleeping, I'm having a hard time functioning at work. Right. And that's when you can say, well, hey, have you thought about maybe talking to somebody? Have you talked to your doctor about it? Just what have you done to try to help with that? Mm-hmm. I always tell people, because now I do this exercise thing. which I don't like at all.
I call her in the morning, she's like, I'm walking.
Yes, yes, but I do it because I hate heat like that too. But I know that for me it makes my life better, but I hate it, but I do it because I know it makes my life better. So definitely, I think when you reach out to someone, you may just say, hey, you want to take a walk? You want to do something? You want to just kind of take that walk with them, help them to get there. Because a lot of times they need somebody to hold their hand.
So in addition to walking, which falls under exercise, is there anything else someone can do to help improve their mental, emotional habits?
Yeah, I think that you have to look to see what you're doing that's working and what's not working. Because I think a lot of times we do things that are comfortable for us, but not necessarily what works for us. So a lot of times, I always am a proponent of sleep. Sleep is a huge one, and when you don't get enough sleep, it throws a lot off balance in your life. So really looking at how you're sleeping, if you're sleeping well. Hey, make sure you got the blue blocker on your phone, because that messes with your rhythms in your brain and keep you from going to sleep early. And it disrupts your sleep. So if you somebody who likes to get notifications all night long, you might want to flip your phone over so you don't see that flashing at night, because you don't know it's waking you up, but it is. So sometimes some of those things that you can do to improve your sleep are things that are little things. Like if I see light, I can't sleep. And so it's like a tomb in my room. But all I need to see is a notification from my husband's, hey honey, from my husband's phone, and I'm like, can you flip that phone over? Because I'm not going to sleep tonight. So sleep is a huge one. I think healthy food is very, very much underrated. We eat junk 24/7 because we're on the go a lot. And so a lot of times, I'm gonna get on my health coach soapbox, there's a lot of processed stuff in the food we eat. That throws off your chemicals. So if you find yourself being congested after you eat things, that's impacting your body. So make sure bloated, and even like something as simple as, I was in denial about my relationship with dairy for a minute, but just have some ice cream, and then I wake up in the morning and you would think I have the worst allergies on the planet, because everything is congested and everything, and I can't think clearly, and I can't, give me a couple days, it's out of my system, and I'm a whole nother person. So a lot of times, what you eat really does impact what is going on in your body and in your emotions, in your mind, and the whole 9 yards. So we hit sleep, we hit food, exercise is a given. And again, I think just having a network of support. Isolation is the worst thing for you when you're going through anything. And I think that's why a lot of people are struggling during this pandemic, because we are quarantined off from the people who feed us emotionally. And, even that coworker that gets on your nerves, that's part of your whole world. And then when you don't have that part, it just changes everything. So having a support network is really huge. And I think when you have somebody, hey, look, sometimes you have to get on support groups, even online ones, just so you can have that support and the sense that you are belonging to a group. And that really, really does help. So those are the simplest things that you can do to really boost your mental health.
Okay. Let's see if I can find another one. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. We had one. I apologize. How does yoga affect or improve someone's mental health?
Well, I think part of why yoga is beneficial for people is, and I'm not flexible enough for most of that, but how I think it really impacts someone is that you do a lot of deep breathing. And when you get that breath into your body and into your you know, your joints and it really relaxes you. And so I think aside from the flexibility, which one of my gym teachers back in high school told me was the key to life, it really does physically help you and releases great endorphins and things in your brain to help your chemicals. But then it also provides that relaxation to bring you down where you need to be. So yoga is a very good thing, and a lot of times yoga is combined with meditation, which is really good at focusing and centering and being able to slow your mind down. So a lot of times I know people are scared of things that they've never done before, but that's a really great activity. And look, if you're scared, it means that you don't love Jesus. It doesn't. Just say Jesus the whole time you do it, and it's just fine. So, yeah.
Do we have time for one more question? So one more question. When is a good time to reach out for help?
The minute you ask that question. So plain and simple.
Okay.
If you feel like you need help, and this is, you know, especially right now, we're seeing violence on TV. We're hearing all of these things about how this world is functioning and how it's not functioning. And I think that if it's got you to the point where you don't have a time of peace in your day, you gotta find a way to get back there. So it's not a question of saying, you know, oh, do I have to be at, you know, feeling suicidal, or do I have to be? No, you don't. But if it has you off and not feeling like yourself, that's when you need to say, I gotta do something to get there. And once you do that and take that first step, it's always the most uncomfortable one. Even when you know something's wrong in your body, feeling like something's off, you don't want to go right away. But if you hold off, it gets worse. So don't just assume it's going to go away. Don't just assume, especially I know we've been in this quarantine pandemic kind of thing for a minute. So most people are right on the edge, like ready to go on over. So reach out to people. And a lot of times it's just, you know, taking a walk with a friend may even help. It may just really, that little bit of reach out. But if it's even more severe, and I went over a lot of the warning signs of mental illness, you know, if you see those things pop up, definitely reach out to someone. Okay.
Well, Facebook, we're going to wrap things up. Miss April, I love you.
Yeah.
Thank you for this wonderful information that you have shared with our viewers. I do want to take time to talk about next week. We are going live again next week. We will do a pre-recording on suicide in the African American community. Our presenter is David Roundtree. He is a licensed clinical social worker. So after Mr. Roundtree presents, then we will immediately go into our Q&A questions. So since I've already told you about our topic next week, kind of have in your mind what you want to ask us, okay? Because we look forward to your questions, okay? Thank you, Facebook, and we will see you next week.